Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an absolutely delightful Division 2 evening. One last dance this season for round number 11 in the arid sands of Abu Dhabi. It's great to be streaming this all with you tonight, and joining me for one last, well, wearing the heart on the sleeve race, I do suspect, it's Josh Richards. How are you doing, sir?
And really looking forward to Div 2. I mean, yeah, it's going to be amazing racing here at the Yas Marina circuit.
Exactly. Nothing encapsulates Division 2 better than last week's Qatar Grand Prix. Both championship crusades now sealed by the Scuderia. This is it. This is going to be a completely different dynamic. Every single one of those drivers out there, pride is at stake this week. We're going to see some electric entertainment tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be flat out racing. The championship's sealed up. Yeah, nothing really to fight for other than this race result. Everyone wants to just finish as high as they possibly can here tonight, give themselves as good of a race as they possibly can. It's going to be amazing racing tonight.
Couldn't agree more with you. And shout out to my technical staff as well. Apox Cohen, not only the championship winner, but also my technical staff. He says we now good, so that's always a good thing. Where do we start with Division 2? I mean, obviously, us as a pairing, we've done a few races together now, but Division 2, it's constant entertainment from Vegas to Qatar. Vegas, where the walls are claustrophobic. Qatar, even when the walls are so far apart, you got all the time and space in the world. Track limit penalties absolutely cause peril out there. There's not a chance for any of them to breathe.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas was a very, very chaotic one. Qatar, very different. Abu Dhabi is quite interesting. There's quite a few places where you can get the track limits, quite a few places where the walls are close as well. It's kind of a mix between the two, and I think it's going to be a really exciting one. We saw a very, very interesting race, lots of chaos in the Div 3 Championship here in Abu Dhabi as well. That was an absolutely chaotic one, helped by some internet issues as well. So yeah, it's definitely going to be an exciting one tonight.
F05 never disappoints in all the departments, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk Abu Dhabi then. I mean, the new layout, what are your opinions on the new layout? I mean, obviously it flows better, it's much more efficient in terms of the way the car moves around, but does it really provide that spark, that extra bit of spark for racing? I would imagine it does, but what do you think?
I mean, can we really even call it new at this point? We've had it for 3 or 4 years now. There's some changes I like and some changes I dislike. I definitely like the improved first sector. It takes some corners out of it. It's only really one corner now at this point, just turn one. Everything else is basically completely flat out in these cars. Turn 9 as well. That I think that's one of the corners which I kind of don't mind too much. I kind of like that double chicane and then the left-hander as well. That part of the track, it gave us some great racing in real life as well. They made some changes to the final sector as well, which overall kind of made it just flat out through the penultimate corner. I those two changes I wasn't so opposed to. I think that definitely though the change down at turn 5, that was definitely one that we needed.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more with you. Just opens it out, allows for a little bit more optimistic overtaking. We shan't mention the cursed year. Back to F05, ladies and gentlemen. Whilst both championship crusades have been well and truly clobbered by Ferrari, they've annihilated it this season in the form of Apox Cohen and, of course, the Ferrari team. Places further down are not yet signed, sealed, and delivered. Much is only leading F1 Scott in second place by 1 single point. 4 points down from F1 Scott is Sniper's Eye, and then Petronas is 9 points off him. So only 14 points separating second down through fifth. Any one of those guys have a chance. There's also really, really minute gaps elsewhere as you look down. Constructors as well. I mean, second place, again, not sealed. 4 points between Alpine and McLaren. Sauber on 161. There are still plenty of pickings to be had here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really looking forward to this one. I mean, we're probably not going to have any clue how these battles are actually panning out until the results get published. No way we're going to keep track of all those minute details. But yeah, there's definitely some drivers out there who still have that little bit of pride to fight for as we now make our way in towards the start of qualifying. This is definitely going to be an exciting qualifying session.
Absolutely. One of the most exciting parts of the weekend, ladies and gentlemen. The drivers pushing it to the absolute limit, sometimes even beyond. Who knows who will bear the most fruit in the desert of Abu Dhabi, but we shall soon find out. We've got a good roster of names tonight as well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you. F1 Alex, F05 founder, he is here, he is in the Red Bull, hoping to lock horns with a lot of the F05 Division 2 opposition. We've got Scotty Taylor, Apox Cohen, we've got all of the traditionals and some more on the sides. Jacob returns once again, has showcased great pace the past couple of rounds. He'll do very well to do the same again tonight.
Yeah, but he's definitely going to be one of the drivers we want to be watching tonight. Especially in this qualifying session. I think we might see one or two drivers doing that last to first. I think Apox Cohen did one last time out in Qatar as well, so wouldn't be too surprised to see him do the same thing here tonight. Unfortunately, he didn't get that win last time, so maybe he's going to go for glory this time around. We have got 18 minutes on the clock now. 16 drivers in the session at this current moment. I think I did see somebody else joining, so that should be 17. Hopefully with one or two more to come in the next few moments as well. But yeah, qualifying getting underway here at the Yas Marina circuit. Nobody heading out onto the track just yet. Everybody taking their time. Although we can see some Mercedes mechanics moving in that garage, and the Rebel as well. We are going to be seeing a couple of drivers heading out onto the track now. First of which is actually going to be the kick Sauber of Brad Bomb.
Brad Bomb, indeed. An explosive start. Well, that's part one of the psychological race one for the Sauber driver, even though he says his limit is being Latifi. Don't put yourself down like that, sir. You never know. He'll unleash the kick Sauber in a few moments' time, but now it's just about coaxing the tyres into the right temperature window. Once again, soft tyres, you absolutely pulverised them. It's a pyroclastic flow going through those Pirellis all the way through this qualifying lap, so preparation, as we always say, Josh, is absolutely essential.
Yeah, I'm actually going to do something pretty smart. Quite a few of these drivers raced in the Division 3 race. I'm going to go have a look at what their qualifying times look like. Well, actually, Brad Bomb just did a last of first. He disqualified himself. So the first driver out there, we're not actually going to have anything on. Who else was in that race? Is there many people? I don't know. We'll find out in a sec. But yeah, coming into turn 9 now for the kick Sauber driver. Just trying to get some temperature into those soft compound tyres. Let's see how he can do.
He's going for the Fernando Alonso celebration weave. Look at that. Coaxing all of the morsels of temperature into the tyres and even more besides through the final sector. Much more flowing in the past 3 years, well, 4 seasons in fact, that it has been a fixture on the F1 calendar. And through the final 2 corners, it's time to find out how the kick Sauberman can do. Riding on board with FX Brad Bomb for hopefully an explosive start to this qualifying. Josh, take us through a lap of Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, well, coming into turn number 1, braking just off the 100-meter board. Get the car rotated onto the power now, up the hill, flat out through all of these corners, and then you're making your way back down once again through the kink of 4 and then towards the braking zone of turn number 5. Brake at the 50-meter board very, very late. Get the car rotated, take your late apex, get yourself onto the power again, and you're onto the first of 2 very long DRS straights. Position the car over towards the middle of the track. You lose a lane as you get towards the second half of the straight, and then you're coming in towards the chicane of 6 and 7 onto the brakes about the 100-meter board. Get the car turned in and set up this exit now onto the second DRS straight. Opens up as you make your way through turn number 8, and then you're taking the shortest line possible, minimizing the distance towards turn number 9. Middle sector split comes up just here. Brake at the 50-meter board, get the car rotated onto the power nice and early, carry as much speed as you can, give yourself a good exit, and now you're on the run through in towards the hotel section, onto the brakes at just after you finish turning in towards turn number 12, through 13, feathering the throttle through this section under the hotel, and now past the Latifi corner onto the power once again, flat out through turn number 15, 1 corner left to go in towards turn number 16. Get the car rotated in, carry the speed onto the power and up across the line for FX Brad Bowman. It's a 1 minute 23.700 to start this session off.
Not a bad effort at all. Across the line comes Sniper's Eye, though, to take that provisional pole straight off him with a 1:23.167. Potentially expect lap times for pole position. Definitely in the 1 minute 22s. Who knows? Someone might even go beyond, but that might also be illegal. We shall soon find out. Space Boy across the line. He goes to a 1:23.4. Barnaby then slots into 3rd place on the grid for V-Carb. By the way, their 2025 livery, not too shabby at all, can we just say? More on that later, though. F1 Alex, he's on a lap, ladies and gentlemen. The founder of F05 ESPORTS. Meanwhile, Juanjo crosses the line to go with a 1 minute 24.1 into 6th place. Looking around for anyone else on a lap, the answer is Havoc Gamer, wreaking his namesake with a purple final sector to boot, and moving up into P3 at the moment. Scott Taylor starting a lap, and then it will be the Ferrari of Picol Dan crossing the line. I'm so sorry if I said your name wrong. Up into P7 goes the Ferrari driver for the time being.
Yep, I have now got the Division 3 times up. Pole position was actually a 22.8. Second, third, and fourth all doing 23.0. So I expect times to get significantly faster throughout this session. Carmad P4 23.5. Expect him to be improving as well. He's one of the faster drivers here in Division 2. F1 Alex now making his way through the final sector. Let's see how he can get on this lap. Looks like a pretty decent one so far from what we have seen. Some yellow flags here, car off to the left-hand side, getting out the way nicely as he now makes his way through this tricky section. Keeps it just about within the track limits there, feathering that throttle as he's come through. And there we go, Jacob, 22.998, first driver into those 1 minute 22. Still yet to beat that pole position time from Division 3 across the line for F1 Alex. It's a 1 minute 23.676.
Not bad at all from F1 Alex. Absolutely astronomical from Jacob. In the Haas once again, the American dream. He certainly is dreaming. Well, you're not dreaming, actually. Wake up, sir. It is real life. You're in pole position. McCarthy crosses the line and goes into P3 for the Williams team. Not bad at all for Williams at this starting stage of qualifying, but there are plenty of takers behind. One of which is Scott Taylor. Through the final 2 corners goes the McLaren man. Hug the inside. Line of least resistance, then flick the car in. Hope the tyres have enough grip to just get you across the line. And at the moment, well, it was a very, very slow outlap because he's now going again, and now he will properly push it through Sector 1. And, well, on recommendation, we can see how the drivers are actually using their battery here, of course in hot lap, for this qualifying session. But as they head down towards the hairpin, is it a switch down to medium? No, it is not. Generally speaking, you can switch it down just to help you on the exits, and then you pulverize the battery, send the Duracell bunny crying with the overtake down the straight. There it is, right on cue, as F1 Scott makes his way down towards the chicane. Brake at the 100-meter board as brave as you can, and then dare for the aerodynamics to dart into the apex, and then plant on the power. Once again, overtake being used. So interesting to see how they will use it. You've got to make sure you have enough capacity at the end, because as soon as that battery starts getting to that danger zone of 20%, suddenly it becomes extremely ineffective.
Yeah, well, let's see one more sector to go for the McLaren driver. He's kept himself a decent amount of battery. You aren't going to use all that much here as there are a lot of corners here. Most of the battery being used down the two long straights composing that top half of the circuit. Few corners left to go now for the Scottish driver coming in towards turn 15 and 16. Just about kept enough battery there. That green sliver running right to the edge and deploy used up to the line. 23.2 puts himself into P3.
Solid lap from Scott Taylor. P3 for the time being. The track, of course, ramping up all the while. Confidence growing by the bucketful as we carry on through this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix qualifying session, as we have MJ on an outlap. Last featured at the US Grand Prix, promoting his single Ghosts quite significantly. It wasn't the greatest time for him personally, but it did do the song a world of favours. So, just charging up the battery, letting it fly, but someone who is actually letting it fly is Sniper's Eye, flicking the car in through turn 1. You're just hoping that the Pirellis aren't squealing and screaming for resuscitation at the end of the lap, that you don't take too much life out of them. But so far, so good. Confidence ramping up all the while. Like I say, a purple sector 1, and again, flicking the car in. You hope and pray that the rear end complies, but Lady Luck looking favourably on the Mercedes driver so far.
Yeah, well, purple first sector is promising for the Mercedes driver. Hopefully, we get a look at how much they are improving by coming to that middle sector split through the chicane. Decent line there, takes quite a lot of the curb, but fortunately, you can do that. It doesn't unsettle the car all that much. Sniper's Eye on for a very nice lap here, it seems, coming towards the middle sector split now across the line. Doesn't show a purple sector this time around, but still should be pretty decent pace for the Mercedes driver in towards the final sector. Turn 10 and 11 flat out in towards 12. Brake as the car straightens up. Try and carry the speed through here underneath the hotel now. Still looking like a good lap for the Mercedes driver. How brave are you with the track limits pretty much on that white line now? We are seeing drivers getting closer and closer as they push harder and harder to those limits through the final corner now for Sniper's Eye and across the line. Goes on to provisional pole position, 1 minute 22.775. We're now faster than that P1 time we saw in the Division 3 race.
Properly pushing the limits now. 8 minutes to go, just under 8.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. And Sniper's Eye finding plenty of purchase and grip on those Pirelli tyres. Speaking of places you can purchase some extremely good grip, Tuatara has you covered. They've got some amazing sim racing wear in this business. They've got gloves, they've got grip socks. They are fantastic. Thank you so much for powering F05 Esports. Do go and check out Tuatara for all of the best sim racing wearing needs. A great lap from Sniper's Eye though. Meanwhile, MJ, no ghost promotion tonight. He is absolutely on it like a car bonnet. 23.0, purple final sector, and into provisional P3 for the time being. Properly testing the limits. F1 Alex on another lap meanwhile, but so is this man. Apox, Cohen, and Much making their way round. Well, how much do they dare to push the car? This will be their first time lap on the board. They've just got to keep it quite careful at this stage.
Well, a little birdie has told me that Apox Cohen actually made a mistake with the setup. Front and rear roll bars are inverted by mistake, so not looking too great for the champion. Might be a little bit unstable, and we'll have to see how they fare on this lap. But things might not be looking great, especially in the race when you need that consistency.
Flicking the car in, as such is his driving style. It's just become accustomed to it. So much of a natural instinct, and then plant on the power and overtake. Havoc Gamers absolutely gazumped the rest of the field out of nowhere with a 22.5. Still, Apox Cohen goes round, just takes it possibly a bit too narrow. Try and stay off the curb, otherwise it unsettles the rhythm of the car. And now he's got to induct that flow back into it once again through the final sector. Much crossed the line, by the way. Couldn't improve. In fact, it was an outlap more than anything else. He's now properly pushing it to the limit. Through the final sector comes the Ferrari faithful of Apox Cohen, the championship winner in Division 2. Through he goes as Karma goes into P4. Apox Cohen slots into P3 at the moment. It's a Haas 1-2 at the moment, Josh. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, 22.659 J4 set. While we were watching Apox Cohen do his lap there, a very nice attempt from him, and the Haas team looking very, very strong heading into this final race. I'm not sure how much they can gain in that Constructors' Championship, but we'll probably find out after the race. How will they do? That will definitely depend much on his lap now, I think. making his way through turn number 9. Bit of a little wiggle there off the rear end, managed to collect it very nicely though in towards 12 now. Looking pretty strong for the Alpine driver, getting very nice rotation out of the car. In fact, a bit too much rotation out of the car. The car almost losing it there, but through the final few corners. Now let's see what time it's going to be for the Alpine driver, currently on a 35.7. Definitely not a representative time across the line now into P9 at 23.330, just a tenth behind Scott Taylor.
Yeah, should have a time to set another lap in this session. Meanwhile, Havoc Gamer is doing a Sebastian Vettel. He's retired from the session with multiple moments to go. And, well, if he keeps pole position after that, that will be quite some achievement. Everywhere else, though, we saw Carmad go into P4. A great lap for the Williams driver, actually. His teammates on a lap himself has pushed the battery to the absolute limit, and now it's through underneath the hotel section. Use as much of the track as you dare. Try and use the curb for a tiny bit of rotation, but not too much, as much dictated, because otherwise it spits you out, and then you have to recompensate for momentum all over again. McCarthy, though, is not going to improve. Into the pit lane goes the Williams driver, and as a result, the only driver out there at the moment on, well, seemingly a flying lap is the Aston Martin man. But it hasn't gone too swimmingly for him. So, much is still out there. He's not on a lap, obviously. He's just completed one. So, it is Scott Taylor on an out lap. Going while there's a clear track just can help, obviously, clear your head a little bit. It gives you one less thing to worry about. It's just you, the car, and the track. And you can push it however you please.
Yeah, might be trying to burn some fuel off potentially as well. Maybe he's going to try and go for 2 out laps here, or maybe he's going to give somebody a tow on his second run. It's definitely going to be an interesting one to watch, whether he is just trying to go early to get his run out of the way, or whether he is has got some team games to play potentially. But up across the line now to start the lap, Scott Taylor, currently on a 23.2, needs to find about half a second if he wants to get himself up there in the fight for that second row or the front row of the grid potentially. If he can find a little bit more time on this lap. Down the hill towards turn number 5 now. And let's see how he can get on this lap.
Bit wide into the late apex bit. The aerodynamics just not biting properly at the front, but now it's ferociously down this back straight. DRS wide open, now uses overtake as he reaches halfway down the straight. Once again, we observe the telemetry. Into the chicane he goes, not opting for medium out of these sets of corners to assist with the traction. Instead, keeping it in hot lap, possibly with some medium traction to help him out there, which is no problem at all, because he can now slam it to the floor, put the pedal to the metal, and then down towards the chicane, but he's actually lifted off quite a bit. Possibly not the greatest start to the lap he would have hoped for. Throttles it down into none ERS, and so that is a lap down the drain for the moment for F1 Scott. Elsewhere, though, Barnaby is on the move. Was on the move. He's not using any battery. Luke, please give us something. Are you pushing? Quite possibly. Through Sector 1 goes the V-Carb driver.
Yeah, well, currently on a 23.7. He has got plenty of time to find on this lap through the first sector. Into turn number 5, looks pretty decent, gets nice rotation as well onto the power. Now he's going to pick up some tow off the back of his teammate as well. Barnaby just trying to help his teammates out as they come down the straight. Probably could have executed that a little bit better, but would have gained him a little bit of time nonetheless. In towards 6 and 7 now. Once again, gets nice rotation. A little bit too much, though, over those curves. Bounced the car up into the air. That's probably cost him a half a tenth or so of time. Fortunately, there was another corner directly after, so didn't cost him too much in the long run towards turn number 9 now. For the V-Carb driver, gets the rotation on the entry, carries the speed through on the exit. Decent run for Luke as it stands. Can he find himself a good few positions here with this final attempt in the qualifying session? 1 minute 45 to go here in qualifying. Most of the drivers now out there on their outlaps. In fact, most of them confined to those 2 back straights. Luke now around the final 2 corners, 15 and 16. Let's see what the time's going to be for the V-Carb driver. Going to go a little bit earlier than everyone else across the line now. Up into P8, 23.161. Very nice chunk of time found.
Very nice from Luke in the V-Carb. Very well done, ladies and gentlemen. Crunch time has been initiated. By the way, Havoc has we've got a little birdie in our ear from Havoc himself saying it wasn't an ego retire, he just knew he couldn't improve. To which we say in the commentary box, we believe in you. We think you could have done it. But who knows? Anyways, back to the action, and Scott Taylor has improved significantly. Into the 1 minute 22s, goes the McLaren driver, and now we wait for the plethora of outlaps to come to an end, and then they can commence the final charge here in qualifying. This could be absolutely astonishing. Jacob not far off his teammate. Apox Cohen with set-up gremlins might thwart him from achieving greatness, but only time will tell. Sniper's Eye through the first few corners, close to pole, but no cigar so far. Can he reap the rewards on this final lap? Meanwhile, big question, did Barnaby get a decent toe off his teammate? The answer is absolutely he did, Josh.
Yeah, and this should help him as well in his runs to try and get himself up into that top 10 like his teammate. We'll see how this lap goes for him through this final sector. Not looking quite as good as his teammate, but maybe he does have the pace elsewhere to bring himself up the order, up into that fight. We'll see as he comes around the final corner. No Delta showing up, unfortunately, but across the line now is an improvement. He finds about 0.4 of a second and makes it a V-carb. 5th row of the grid as it stands. We're watching F1 Alex now jumping around a little bit, trying to find out who is going to be the next to the line because the checkered flag has fallen. Nando Folonzo not improving. F1 Alex has invalidated his lap. So who is going to be the next driver to finish a lap? MJ finding some time. So is the other Alpine of Much, currently a 10th up, coming through turn number 14. Oh! Big slide there at the Latifi corner into the barrier. Fortunately keeps the car going, but I think that is going to cost him any sort of time he was gaining. We've got the Mercedes of Sniper Z. Can they try and put it onto pole position, or at least onto the front row? Across the line now. And it's provisional position. Sniper Z 22.537, half a 10th clear. Can J4 do anything to stop them? Yes, he can. 22.536, 1,000th of a second. And Apox Cohen 22.0, half a second clear. Where has that lap come from? What on earth?
My goodness me. Set-up squandering can go straight out the window. Apox Cohen has blazed through the barricade to take pole position by almost half a second. Until then, it was completely electric stuff. 1,000th between Jacob and Sniper's Eye. MJ up to P5. Scott Taylor can finish this session in P6 when all is said and done. Goodness gracious me. Abu Dhabi, you are astonishing. What a qualifying session. And ladies and gentlemen, that was only part one. That was only the entree. The main course on its way in a matter of moments, because we will be going ahead for race day in no time at all. Apox Cohen, though, a reason he's champion. He pulls it out of the bag, even when it might not be his day, even when he proclaims that it's not quite his track. Forget it. That's why he's at the top of the pecking order, because out of nowhere, he can pull the rabbit out of the hat.
Yeah, well, I mean, what a lap from him. Almost half a second clear. 0.468 ahead of Jacob there in P2. Starts on the front row. Sniper Z 1,000th of a second further back. 22.537. Havoc in P4. 22.586. Only half a 10th further back. Then we had MJ, Scott Taylor, Carmad, Pico Dan, Luke Barnaby, Patronus, Much, F1 Alex, Spaceboy, McCatty, Brad Bomb, and one Joe at the back of the field.
There is only one Joe. Unfortunately for that Joe, he is in P17. But F1 Alex, ladies and gentlemen, he's managed to beat his teammate, so confidence for him. Back to the front of the field, though. Good grief. Apox Cohen, what have you done? Incredible, incinerating the rest of the field. That's part one of the job done. But ladies and gentlemen, the big points are on race day. And while the championships have been sealed, there are plenty of pickings for positions further down. And of course, there is pride at stake. Division 2 wears their hearts on their sleeves for one final race this season, round number 11, and into the pits we go. The cars aren't even going yet. The Paddock Club are loving it.
Yeah, I mean, what a spectacle this track is as well. It's such an amazing one to watch. And with the close group we're having today, I mean, maybe Cohen a little bit further ahead. Hopefully the DRS can keep him in touch with the rest of the pack, though. But yeah, it should be an amazing race with how close the gaps were we were seeing in qualifying.
Couldn't agree more with you. DHL sponsorships, who will deliver the goods tonight? We shall soon find out. As Cohen says, he apparently messed it up. Well, listen, even if you messed the setup up, that's a tongue twister in itself. But the point is, you turned everyone else's time on the grid topsy-turvy. a convincing pole position. But soon enough, we shall have the 5 red lights. We'll have a formation lap first, as we have done, as is part of the course on F05 Division 2. And then we shall get into the action. Josh, predictions for the race. Who do you think will take top honours tonight?
Well, I'm not going to be silly here. Apox Cohen, he's obviously going to win the race tonight. I don't think that's much of a question. I'm going to go with Jacob in second and F1 Scott in third.
Very interesting. I like it. And because he's watching and because he's on the grid tonight, F1 Alex is obviously going to win. Apox Cohen will DNF first corner. Okay, now for my realistic results. I'm going to say J4's going to win it. I think Jacob's got something in his locker. You never know. Has come close to previous 2 rounds. But tonight, I have a feeling it might just be his night. One final F05 fairy tale this season. And then second place, I'll say Apox Cohen. I put Scott Taylor third as well. I think that is a reasonable shout. Soon enough, we will be underway. Strategy-wise, it'll obviously probably be mediums and hards, safety cars permitting, of course. But whether they choose the hards first or the mediums first, that is another question entirely. Let's talk driving styles as well while we are here. It has slightly caught one man off guard and put him off piste. That is Apox Cohen. Obviously a very aggressive driving style. It is fast, but it does take the life out of those front tyres. It can just be slightly less advantageous as we are underway for the formation lap.
Yeah, well, we should be able to have a quick look at the tyres now as everybody does make their way off the grid. And in fact, medium tyres for the entire grid, except for Pico Dan and FX Brad Bomb. So the majority of the drivers deciding to start on the faster, higher wear tyre, get that out of the way, and then go onto the hards later on. Potentially, if there's an early safety car, you can go onto them and take it all the way to the checkered flag. That should be pretty advantageous.
Well,
but obviously, yeah, with most of the grid on them, not going to see too much advantage through the field.
Couldn't agree more with you. Apox Cohen darting to the inside. They all try and find any kind of temperature into the tyres, much going off the track potentially, for some extra marbles to help with that particular occasion. I'll be honest, it probably won't work, but here comes an Alpine out of nowhere, diving down the inside. It's not MJ. Much has got a chip on his shoulder. He's gone miles off the track. He's further towards Bahrain than the apex of that particular corner, but he is currently leading the formation lap. Maybe a statement of intent from the Alpine driver, who knows. Strategies at the bottom of our screen then. Apparently lap 13 to 16 could be the pit window, and apparently a 2-stop could be on the cards as well. Not sure anyone's going to be trying that, but if there are safety cars, who knows? It is more than possible. Through this final sector they go, final preparations, and now it's just about gearing up for the start of that race. Part 1 of the job is just firing off the line at just the right rate of knots.
Yeah, but you've got to make sure you get those revs right to give yourself that perfect launch off the grid. Your start could make or break your race. If you get caught up behind somebody, caught up in an incident potentially, that could be race over for yourself. You've got to make sure you put yourself into the right situations, give yourself the right opportunities, and that all comes from those 5 red lights going out in just a few moments as the grid slowly but surely starting to form up. We have one of the Red Bulls, which I believe, yes, F1 Alex making the run to the grid nice and early, as is much 13th and 12th. So they're going to occupy their grid slots and give everybody else a little bit of a headache, although they will go, so they can just drive through them. No need to worry about ducking and weaving around them. And the grid all starting to form up now as we get ready for the start here in Abu Dhabi.
Tension building, ladies and gentlemen. Let the atmosphere amp up. And then a symphony of V6 song and dance will resonate one final time in F05 Division 2 this season. 5 red lights for the final race of the season. Lights out and away we go, and it looks like a decent start from Apox Cohen. We can't see too much, but Jacob has to slot in behind. It's an electric getaway from the Ferrari driver. That's through the first corner they go. Scott Taylor trying to make moves early on in the McLaren, holding it round the outside at the moment. Can't quite get it done. There's been an issue for Carman. He's immediately pelted down to P8. A V-Carb having some problems as well. Down the inside goes the Williams driver, but could be a switchback for Dan. But he's got no temperature in the hard tyres at all. That's the double-edged sword you play with. It might come back to you later on in the race, but those mediums, immediately, they've got grip, they've got confidence. As down to the chicane they go, darting to nose to the inside, but Jacob can't quite find the bravery on the brakes at the moment, and making a huge leap over the curb. That's one track limit strike possibly already. Cohen leads Jacob in second, but here comes Sniper Z, Josh.
Yeah, well, here we go towards turn number 9. The Mercedes having to back out of that one for the time being. Apox Cohen might have picked up a warning there, but look at the advantage he has. And Scott Taylor looking to the inside on the exit of turn number 9. He almost got far enough alongside Havoc there to try and move potentially in towards turn number 12. This braking zone here, you see quite a few moves heading into here with the revised turn number 9. Apox Cohen almost broken that DRS on this opening lap. He may have taken that warning, but that could be a major benefit if he can start pulling away without that DRS to hamper him. Here we go towards turn number 1. Apox Cohen, fastest lap of the race. Look at that gap teetering around that 1 second margin as he makes his way out of turn 1. Does he get a good enough exit to break that DRS? It's just about over 1 second now. Are they going to use that battery? Apox Cohen almost run out already towards the detection point. Looks like J4 might just about sneak in. It was so tight over that one. I'm not sure whether he has picked it up or not.
I think J4 missed it. I think he was just outside DRS. That is heartbreak for the Haas driver. And there it is. No rear wing flap. Immediately you hear the double shift. He's conceded. He has to save ERS. And Sniper's Eye moves up into P2. Behind, Scott Taylor's on the move. He's up to P4 and let the DRS games very much commence. Cohen then has a lead of about a second, but Sniper's Eye with that DRS has managed to get into a second, and so Jacob can now come back into this particular train. Scott Taylor, though, looking punchy and trying to pulverise the diffuser of that Haas. That's an interesting sentence in itself, but for now has to slot in behind. Remains a procession for the time being. Under the hotel, there you go. And Apox Cohen might have broke away early doors, but now it's a completely different game plan. Has saving all the way through this last sector, and Sniper's Eye will be well and truly on his case.
Yeah, Scott Taylor is a man on a mission here as well. Look how close he is following the back of that Haas car. He is raring to go for an overtake. Fastest lap of the race for the McLaren, quickly snatched away by Carman, but he is looking to fight his way onto this podium and potentially fight for the race win here tonight as well. He has got some good pace, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. Apox Cohen once again starting to pull away a little bit, but just getting reeled back in as we make our way towards the detection point. Sniper's Eye right on the back of that Ferrari. We could be seeing the first swap of the lead here on lap number 3 as they make their way down towards turn number 6. The Mercedes right on the back of the Ferrari, all the way over to the left-hand side of the track, trying to break that toe, trying to defend to the inside. Is the Mercedes now going to look to the outside as they make their way back over to the racing line? Sniper's Eye around the outside, up into the race lead here in Abu Dhabi. Apox Cohen down to second and could still be under pressure from J4 as a good exit for the Haas driver. Not great for the Ferrari. We have some yellow flags as well. That is Petronas and I think Barnaby potentially coming together down at the chicane. Here comes Apox Cohen once again in towards turn number 9, back up the inside of the Mercedes and retakes that race lead once again.
It will be a DRS carousel, and it will be chopping and changing all the way through. You've just got to be careful not to let yourself be exposed after that first DRS zone, but I'm sure that will all come to a head as we get further on into this contest where it will matter, and all the calculations will come to the forefront in terms of when you should stay behind, when DRS will be the most advantageous. Jacob having a huge snap of oversteer. The rear end not settled at all on the Haas car. And so Scott Taylor again looking punchy, darting out of the slipstream again. All about the psychological warfare, and Scott Taylor's coming with ammunition in these early stages. Meanwhile, the 8 cars at the front, they've broken away. F1 Alex has a good chance, actually, as the lead, I'm sure, will absolutely change hands. But the Red Bull driver has a decent chance of gazumping much early on in this contest.
Yeah, he's going to be looking to make a move on this straight. Not a great exit there from either of them, but on with the DRS now. Battery saving there for the Alpine, and here comes F1 Alex over to the inside. Nice, easy pass with that DRS. Sniper Z has also retaken the lead. Apox Cohen could be under pressure here in towards the braking zone. up at the front of the field, and Pico Dan swapping positions there with Much as well for that P10 position. Up at the front though, Sniper Z, Apox, Cohen, J4, Scott Taylor, all fighting over the same piece of track, and we going 3 wide in towards turn number 9. Just about, I think, was there some contact there potentially, but Scott Taylor with the double overtake gets himself up to second. Havoc losing another position there to the Mercedes car, but wow, what a move there from the McLaren driver.
Scott Taylor moving fearlessly forward in this contest. Lap 4 out of 29. It's a statement of the utmost intent. He's going for the win. He is absolutely pushing it to the limit early on, and so through onto lap number 5 we go. Pretty much over a sixth of the race gone. Apox Cohen regains the lead of this contest once again. It's Scott Taylor this time though, and Sniper's Eyes had another problem because it's MJ has put on a thriller down the inside. Into P5 goes the Alpine ace, and the Mercedes man has to recollect, regroup and resuscitate his race very, very quickly because Carmad's all over the back of him. Obviously going to wait for that DRS, but it could go from bad to worse for the Mercedes driver, as here comes Scott Taylor. Electric exit from the McLaren driver, and we have a new leader in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Through goes Scott Taylor, and J4 going for it into the chicane.
He's going around the outside. It's going to switch to the inside. He's trying to go for the switch back here, though, on the exit of 7. Get onto the power. Doesn't quite look like he got a good enough exit this time around, though. Sniper's Eyes had a big off down at turn 6. Looks like they've made a mistake off into the barriers, and that is them dropping all the way down to P16 and out of that fight at the front of the field.
I know commentator's curse gets thrown around quite a lot, but when I said it could go from bad to worse, I didn't mean that much worse. Well off the track goes Sniper's Eye, possibly thinking about careering into the wall. Meanwhile, there's a bit of a bust-up going on under the hotel. Apox Cohen and J4 are side by side underneath the hotel complex. They've already made contact once in a previous lap. They don't want to be doing that again, and so sensibly, they both get back into this hungry DRS Caterpillar. And onto lap number 6 we go. Scott Taylor retaining the lead at the end of this lap. Luke will do well. He's hanging onto the coattails of DRS at the moment. He'll do well to keep in that DRS range of MJ, who himself has had a strong start to this race. Don't count him out for strong points in this race, believe me. But once again, to the DRS zone we go. It's going to be academic. It's going to be A-star, first class, all the rest. Apox Cohen will once again swerve his way through into the lead, although not with an exit like that. J4 all over the back of him. He's tired of waiting behind the Ferrari. Scott Taylor's going to be 3 wide momentarily. Into the chicane we go. Apox Cohen retains the lead. J4 slots into second place, and now it's his turn to retaliate with the rear wing deployment.
Well, here we go towards turn number 9. Scott Taylor not too far behind as well, in towards the braking. So J4 to the outside. Can Scott Taylor follow through as well? Still wheel to wheel as they make their way through the apex. They're battling on the exit. Does the Haas driver get the power down better? Yes, he does. Up into the race lead once again. Scott Taylor right behind. Is there a chance into turn 12? The Ferrari looks to the inside. A bit of contact made between the pair of them, and once again we see them battling through the final sector. Jacob this time around though, he gets the better of the Ferrari. He holds onto that P1 position, and Apox Cohen has to settle for second.
Apox Cohen not afraid of an optimistic yet potentially outstanding overtake. He tried it again there. Almost caught the Haas driver napping, but held the marvellous momentum round the outside, did Jacob. Retains the lead, another new leader in this race. It's been a long time coming. It's been brewing for quite some time. But Jacob has the lead for the Haas team. Then it's Apox Cohen and Scott Taylor. It's my top 3 prediction in the order. Please stay there. I want to be the prediction prince at least for tonight. Again, flicking the car in. It's so interesting to see the different driving styles. The front tyres will be like a Chipotle burrito. In quite some dastardly fashion. They will be absolutely melting. But again, down the DRS straight we go. It was 3 wide. Now Jacob has a front row seat. Get the popcorn out. Scott Taylor retakes the lead of this race. Apox Cohen slots in behind. But once again, it was Slotsville, California, but it looks like Lady Luck is looking favourably again on the Ferrari driver.
Right, here we go towards turn number 9. Once again, Apox going to the inside. Jacob can't find a way through this time around, but can he follow the Ferrari on the exit of this corner? Still wheel to wheel, almost 2 by 2 there. The two Hasses battling as well in towards turn number 12. Scott Taylor can't find a way through. Unfortunately, has to concede the lead this time around. Apox come back up into P1, but we still have this battle going on all the way from 1st to 7th within this DRS, although the Williams of Karma starting to drop away a little bit.
Scott almost nibbling at the diffuser of Apox Cohen as he saves the battery through the final sector. Scotty on pretty much maximum battery. Apox Cohen only on half battery at the moment. Potentially not wanting to hold up this train too much, because if he does, and they do fight too much, then they'll fall into the clutches of this next train. F1 Alex, as we have our first time penalty of the night. Much has exceeded track limits far too many times, and the stewards don't look upon that favourably. 3-second time penalty for the Alpine driver. F1 Alex, though, just reeling them in, getting closer and closer to DRS, but the car screaming out. Those tyres getting very second-hand very quickly and just sliding about helplessly. It's the worst possible feeling. Scott, though, it's the elation station once again. Back into the lead of the race goes the McLaren man, but it will just set up Apox Cohen for DRS once again.
Yeah, but Jacob right on the back of the Ferrari this time around. Is there going to be a chance for Jacob to potentially take the race lead 3 wide almost towards turn number 9? Jacob unfortunately couldn't find the gap that time around. Apox Cohen into 1st position. Jacob in 2nd, and now it's my prediction, I believe, if I remember correctly. So yeah, going to be a very, very interesting end to this race for sure. If we keep battling like this all the way through, this could be decided on the last lap. It's got 10 to the inside, in towards 13. A mistake for the Haas driver has cost him that 2nd place position. Jacob down to 3rd, Scott Taylor upping to 2nd. Apox Cohen now builds a half a second margin, but that quickly gets close as he recharges his battery.
Yeah, great opportunism from Scott Taylor just to send it down the inside. Spotted the mistake, didn't need a second invitation. He's now up to 2nd place, coincidentally. And once again, he will have that DRS as he hounds the back of that Ferrari, chasing and chasing some more towards the DRS detection point. Once again, charging up the battery, giving themselves the best opportunity, but much is almost within a second. They have to be very careful as Carmad dives it down the inside, and he's invited much within 1 second. So if they play their cards right behind and F1 Alex gets on up the road, they will be in this train, and suddenly it's coupled to be an even bigger train. Conductor of said express, all aboard. It's Scott Taylor once again taking the lead. Apox Cohen will surely overthrow the temporary conductor as they head on down this 2nd straight, but Jacob is on the move again.
3 wide as well. Havoc coming for it as well to the inside. Can Havoc potentially make the double overtake in towards 9? Almost contact. There is contact between the Ferrari and the Haas. Havoc fortunately does not get sent spinning around. More contact as MJ up the inside on the exit of the corner, and Jacob goes from 2nd to 5th in the space of just a few moments. Really unfortunate for him, dropping down the order, and Scott Taylor with a 3-second time penalty. That could be crucial in deciding tonight's race.
All unravelled at a rapid rate of knots for Jacob. However, I've just seen a McLaren. I thought I did. Yes, I did. Dive into the pit lane. Scott Taylor, the first one to pull the trigger. I have no doubt it will be for hard compound tyres. Going for an undercut, and we saw Nando Forlonzo do this last week and actually had incredible pace despite tyres being significantly older. So perhaps Scott Taylor playing a little bit of a blinder here. We know how powerful it can be, but Brad Bomb's day is done. Retires in the pit lane. So unfortunate for the Sauber driver. But anything can happen in league racing, and it usually does. There's been a kerfuffle at the left-hander. Havoc now the new race leader. He's got DRS. Apox Cohen, I don't think, has the flap open. He does not. No maximum flappage for the Ferrari man. J4 with it. It's all going to be absolute carnage. Just keep it together, lads. And luckily for us, they do. Through the chicane they go. Apox Cohen with DRS. But that train has extended to 11 carriages.
Well, let's see what they can do now. Don't forget, we have one of our drivers outside the train as well. Apox going up the inside, and more contact between this pair. They make contact last time around at turn 9 as well. This time around doesn't cost them as much. They still remain 1 and 2. But this undercut is going to be crucial for Scott. He does have that 3-second time penalty. If he can do what Nando Forlonzo did last week and pull that 3-second gap, he could still be on for the win potentially here tonight. But it's going to take a lot of effort. And are we going to see some drivers diving into the pit lane this time around? We have the top 2 in. Jacob has to continue on to avoid the double stack. More drivers, Luke and MJ, I think both coming into the pit lane as well. Almost the Haas into the back of the Ferrari there as they get the cars stopped. The order now, J4, Luke and Mush, your top 3. F1 Alex up to 4th. A safety car will be very good for them now.
Absolutely, but for the time being, through the pit lane, there you go. And as Havoc, I thought Havoc jumped the Ferrari driver in the pit lane briefly. He did not. He slots in behind as it was before, and out onto the track they go. And that's the power of the undercut, ladies and gentlemen. Scott Taylor has absolutely sliced and diced the opposition. 2.8, nearly 3 seconds worth of a gap. The McLaren man has maestroed out of nowhere. Like we say, that's the power of the potential undercut, and demonstrated absolutely brilliantly by Scott Taylor. He's got that 3-second gap. He has got 1 lap older tyres. But if the cars behind carry on fighting, as they have done early on in this race, this could play right into the McLaren man's hands. Meanwhile, positions elsewhere, much down the inside of Luke, and F1 Alex has a bucket of popcorn ready in case these two come to blows. Through into the final sector they go, and Much sends once again into P2 now of this race. Through the hotel section they go. But for the time being, Scott Taylor, well, he's on a highway to heaven at the moment. 2.8 seconds worth of a gap. He's just got to pray everyone else behind him starts properly fighting.
Another driver in that top fight with a time penalty. Jacob coming to blows. We got yellow flags as well. That is somebody off, I think, somewhere. I absolutely no clue where it is. It's gone now. Somebody was going slow somewhere on the track. We will, I guess, never know who it was. Spaceboy and Pico Dan now first and second in this race. I believe they were the 2 drivers on the hard compound tyres. In fact, no, Spaceboy on the mediums, Pico Dan on the hards. So they continue on Patronus as well. Those 3 yet to make their pit stops. Scott Taylor still has that margin, but it is slowly but surely decreasing. Apox Cohen is pushing, and he is gaining on the McLaren driver. Gap is now 2.6 seconds. It came back down by a couple of tenths on that previous lap. Havoc and J4 can now start to work together with the DRS as well, and that will allow them to close even faster.
That's the plan. That is the name of the game, but whether they execute it to perfection is another matter. Scott Taylor, 2.6 seconds at the moment is the gap, and we could see driving styles play a big part in this as well. Scott Taylor, traditionally a little bit more smooth than Apox Cohen, could save his front tyres a little bit, and that could be crucial in itself. So many elements at play in terms of deciding who will win this dynamic contest. At the moment, Scott Taylor will have it, but he's got to get that gap up at the moment. J4, by the way, he's also, well, the undercut he was not a fan of the undercut whatsoever either. He's now 2.3 seconds down on Cohen and Havoc Gamer, who can now work together to try and extend that gap. So disaster, or dishaster rather, for the Haas driver. Brad Bombs retired from the session. He was the other driver, by the way, on the hard compound tyres. Here's the other one, though. That is still currently racing, ladies and gentlemen. Peacock Dan still going on the hard tyres. Speaking of hard tyres, Apox Cohen's loving life on them at the moment. He's got the fastest lap of this race, as Spaceboy has just pulled into the pit lane and has strapped on a fresh set of hard tyres.
Yeah, but let's see what his pace is going to be like. Can he make up some positions, try and catch up to the back of his teammate who has just passed him now on the track? They should be pretty close together actually on the exit here, and we should be seeing some Red Bull squabbles in the coming few laps. Pico down 5 seconds ahead of Scott Taylor. No worries about traffic for the McLaren driver for the time being, but Apox Cohen now 2 seconds off the back of the McLaren. He is rapidly gaining. And I mean, if Scott Taylor does catch up to Pico down, we probably are going to see some team play there as well.
Really pushing it, and Havoc not choosing to fight it. He knows Cohen's got the overall pace in the corners, and so sensibly just saving his tyres and battery in the wake of the car ahead. Exactly what he needs to do. So he's taken a wide line there to ensure he doesn't pull alongside and compromise both of their races even further. The gap now 1.6 seconds as they continue to chomp away at the margin that Scott built up with the undercut. Meanwhile, Red Bull, I saw them weaving around a little bit to basically say work together. It's not gone well. Spaceboy's now 2 seconds behind F1 Alex. I assume there's been an almighty miscommunication, and so back to the action further up. 1.2 seconds now the gap as we ride on board with Apox Cohen. Havoc Gamer now takes the fastest lap of this race. No battery at all for them to play with. Meanwhile, F1 Scott has got all the battery in the world. And if he is watching, then you never know. Might get some cheeky intel and perhaps start pushing that battery with a little bit more hot lap and just start to coast away a tiny bit. Means a slightly different dynamic has to be played by Cohen and Havoc, but for the time being, they're both still catching up.
Yeah, and with this DRS straight now as well, potentially if they swap now, they might be able to jump the field, not jump the field, jump that gap 2/10 is that Cohen needs to find here in this chicane. It's not going to be impossible. He might be able to get himself into that DRS for the next straight. The detection point on the exit of this corner now. Does he get the exit? He needs to do it. No, he doesn't. We've got some yellow flags. That is Sniper Z. Had an off down at turn 5. Once again, the Mercedes driver struggling with the grip and ultimately losing more time in this race.
Disaster for Sniper Z. He did such a crucial job in qualifying. Did a great job, by the way. Started off strong. It has all since then capitulated in catastrophic ways. But what isn't so catastrophic for Apox Cohen, at least, is he's now just caught up to DRS range, albeit through the hotel section. Scott has found brilliant momentum and has managed to extend that gap a little bit more, and he's hoping he can get into the DRS of Cohen's teammate, Peak Dan, still on those old hard compound tyres. The sooner he gets into DRS, the better, to protect himself for just one lap longer and try and pull away from the two cars behind. J4, by the way, such is the pace of Apox Cohen and the power of the DRS. He's not caught up at all. Still, 2.8 seconds is the gap between himself and the cars ahead. It's going to be a tall order to try and reel them in as this race goes on.
I'm not exactly sure what the gaps were across the detection point, but it didn't look like maybe Scott Taylor or Cohen got the DRS. No, neither of them picked it up that time around. Havoc Game is through to third position now, which would actually be the net lead once everything is settled out. Havoc in a very nice position, could potentially just get towed along by the McLaren driver, who now is going for the move on the Ferrari of Pico Dan, yet to make the stop, and through goes Scott Taylor. No fight put up by the Ferrari. No point battling that one because you'll just be costing yourself time overall. Scott Taylor leads once again. Pico Dan in second. Havoc Game and Apox Cohen third and fourth. Let's see what they can do.
This could have played perfectly into Scott's hands, at least for a little bit. Now Havoc and Cohen have to remain in a procession behind Pico Dan, and look how gingerly he has to take it. A big slide from Pico Dan, and down the inside goes Havoc Game. Oh, Scott Taylor, though, has completely capitulated it in a heartbeat, has built up that second gap once again. Havoc Gamer burning a bit of the battery, but it doesn't matter, it's all an act of kidology, because Scott Taylor has a 6 seconds worth of time penalties next to his name now, and so all of that hard work to build up the gap and get past Pico Dan when he could has all been completely nullified.
I think at this point in Scott Taylor's mind, all of the saving, avoiding the track limits is pretty much out the window. He knows he's not going to win this race with 6 seconds of penalties, so he's just going to push flat out and try and win it on the track at least. Havoc Game at Apox Cohen now gaining once again. Cohen with the DRS swaps himself within that 1 second margin. He can start to push onto the back of the McLaren now as well. Cohen can try and use Scott Taylor as a bit of a defense mechanism, sit behind the McLaren, hold that DRS, and that will help him to avoid Havoc getting past down the 2 long back straights. Jacob is gaining slowly but surely. The gap's now down to 2.7, so he's gained a couple tenths in these past few laps.
It's just so tricky without that DRS. If you ever needed a depiction of how strong the extra rear wing assistance is, there it is in front of your very eyes, ladies and gentlemen. Jacob visualising that gap being absolutely chomped through. It's not quite happened yet. Apox Cohen stays behind Scott Taylor, but it's really only a matter of time. We have our predictions basically at the forefront. If you swap the Haas drivers out, we're basically prediction princes. That's all I'm saying. Meanwhile, behind, it gets a little bit interesting. MJ is in a 4-car train, now a 3-car train, as Barnaby just losing out on the DRS range for the time being, but Luke and MJ's teammate Much will be all over the lead Alpine driver. At the front, though, no doubt whatsoever, it's been a long time coming since they came out of the pit lane. The undercut proved absolutely perilous at the time for Apox Cohen, but just gritting his teeth down, deploying the pace, deploying the DRS, it's going to be an easy pass for the lead.
Yep, here comes Apox Cohen now. We could see Havoc follow through as well. Not too far behind for the Haas driver. Is he going to sit behind this time around? Looks like he will. Apox Cohen into the lead. Scott Taylor and Havoc in second and third. Are there going to be any more chances for these guys to battle away? Or are we going to start to see Apox Cohen do what he did at the start of this race and start to fly off into the distance?
Which I'll soon find out. Has the tyre life to help him with that, but Scott Taylor won't give this one up without a fight. Does concede at the moment, just slots in behind the Ferrari, and we'll hope he can save his battery and tyres just a little bit whilst he is in this train. Cohen now gets to dictate the pace, switches the battery down to nothing. Meanwhile, there are moves being made behind. Karmad gets past Pico Dan as quickly as Jacob managed to get it done. Karmad's done exactly the same, remaining in the DRS range of the Haas driver. He's not letting it go for 1 second, like a rampant Rottweiler. He's got his jaws locked on the opposition. And, well, who knows? Through the final corner they go, remaining with it at the moment, just losing a couple attempts here and there. But again, deploying a bit of battery, keeping in the slipstream, that is all he needs to do. Alpine working together, meanwhile, as we have another retirement from this race. McCarthy's out. He's retired, I think, again in the pit. Either that or he's gone off on the outside of turn number 1. I'll try and ride on board with Petronas to find out. Can't quite tell. I believe it was in the pit lane in the end. Yes, he's moving extremely gingerly. So that puts pay to his race. Up at the front again, though. DRS game. Scott Taylor. Through he goes once again. Cohen slots in behind. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm feeling a smidge of deja vu. It feels like we've settled this score before. As then, trouncing the traction, deploying the DRS, will be the Ferrari driver. We ride on board with the championship winner of Division 2, Apox Cohen. Goes to the inside. It wasn't the biggest gap in the world, but certainly not short of bravery, not even slightly. Back through into the lead he goes. Meanwhile, MJ has managed to make his way past Pico Dan, as has Much. Both Alpines working in tandem and eviscerating the Ferrari, as Luke looks to do the same.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the gaps as well. As it stands, I think Karmad will potentially be on for a podium position here. So looking very strong for him as Luke, as you said, past Pico Dan. Nice move from him up to P8. He can start to set his sights after a good few more positions here. With the time penalties as well, would jump himself decently far up the order. It's going to be interesting to see how many we see till the end of this race as Pico Dan peels into the pit lane now. Off of those hard compound tyres, mediums to the end. I would be sure of it as the mechanics come out of the pit lane, and it is the yellow walled medium compound tyres going onto that Ferrari on the short dash to the checkered flag. Apox Cohen, Scott Taylor, Havoc, they still battle away up at the front of the field. DRS straight now for them. Is Scott Taylor going to go for the move this time around? He's gaining on the back of the Ferrari and over to the right hand side of the track. Scott Taylor back up into P1. Havoc Gamer a little bit too far back to try and capitalise on this one. He's going to have to settle for third.
Eyes on the prize up at the front. We'll see what pace Pico Dan further back can utilise on the new medium compound tyres. Once again, though, Scott Taylor takes the lead. But once again, we look from behind. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a scary sight. As down the inside again goes Apox Cohen. And like an Apox Predator, he missed the apex on that occasion. At the last part anyway. Doesn't really matter. Momentum's on his side. And through back into the lead once again. And now back to his full-time job of being an Apox Predator. Nicely done, sir. These three can't unglue themselves. Jacob losing half a second on the DRS straight, though, to the cars ahead and going wide once again. Not loving life on the hard compound tyres and not loving life without DRS. Karmad being pulled along, but Scott Taylor needs that gap to increase even more. If he's going to be on the podium by the end of this contest, he needs Jacob and Karmad to keep fighting like there's no tomorrow. Like we say, pride at stake here at the final race of the season on F05 Division 2, as Apox Cohen currently has pride very much on his side, as he's the leader of this race. Once again, though, Josh, I mean, you can probably guess what the script writers have been in once again. You can probably guess what's happening next.
Yeah, well, they've dropped the script off, and as we would expect, it's Scott Taylor coming through, but Havoc also gaining on the back. Could there be a chance this time around for the Haas driver gaining on the back of the Ferrari? Of course not. He sits behind, but Karmad ahead of Jacob now heading into 6th. He's now up to the front of that train. He doesn't have a time penalty, and he can start to push on. He's trying to close that gap. They can start to work together as well. Apox Cohen with the switchback once again up to 1st. Havoc still yet to find his way through. Bit of a procession up at the front there, just swapping their positions lap after lap, as are J4 and Karmad as well. 3.4 though is the gap between Jacob and Havoc. That gap still staying pretty high. As it stands though, Karmad would benefit from those time penalties. Pico Dan past Barnaby through 6 and 7, gets himself up to P13 now. He is on a charge to try and gain some positions. Can he get himself up into that top 10? They will have to wait and see. Cohen and Scott in the final corner, battling away still. We didn't expect this one. This was not in the script. Apox Cohen and Scott Taylor wheel to wheel towards turn number 1. Scott Taylor pulls ahead of Apox Cohen. That was not a move we expected to see. Havoc still sits behind as it stands. He's just waiting for the perfect moment to capitalise and get himself up ahead. But what are we seeing here? Battles in that final sector, not what we were expecting.
Mighty move from the McLaren maestro. Cohen shows the nose to the inside, potentially thinking about a dastardly dive of his own, but can't quite execute it. Havoc's been biding his time all the way through this, I imagine, and now he's going to try and pull the trigger. 3 wide briefly as they head down the straight, and through the Haas driver goes. He pulls ahead, and as they head into the braking zone at the chicane, when the brake marker boards have been completely demolished, the Haas driver is through into the lead of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. But once again, they've executed the script to perfection on the previous lap, and now Apox Cohen will look to do the same, although Havoc's been saving a truck ton of battery up to this point, and so can remain ahead at the moment. Through the sweep left-hander we go, as my voice gives up on life. It's Havoc in first, Cohen in second, Scott Taylor in third. Carmad, though, it's bad news. He lost a lot of time, made a mistake on the previous lap, and that's invited MJ into the equation as well. So the final podium position not yet settled, and Jacobs now got another 3-second time penalty added next to his name. As we have a look at the big win, it's not like a huge winner in this race. Much has gained the most positions so far, but Havoc at the moment on cloud 9. He's your leader on lap 22.
Well, yeah, we've got 7-ish laps to go here in Abu Dhabi. Havoc, Cohen and Scott still battle away. The battle for the lead, though, is effectively just a battle between Havoc and Cohen. But let's see what they can do once again. Out of turn number 5, DRS going to open up. And I expect we're going to be seeing a repeat of everything we've seen over these past few laps. Here comes the Ferrari driver gaining once again to retake the race lead to the inside in towards 6. Havoc gives him the squeeze in towards the corner, but Cohen pulls ahead before they get to the braking point. Cohen back up into first. Havoc right on the back of the Ferrari. Can he get a good enough exit, a good enough run towards turn number 9 to retake that race lead? He's trying to put himself into the best possible position. He is gaining on that Ferrari. Is he close enough for a lunge to the inside? He looked for a moment, sent the nose in, but he couldn't get close enough. Cohen holds onto the lead as they come towards the end of lap number 22.
Can't compromise your rhythm and flow too much, though, because a hungry, snappy shark of Scott Taylor is waiting in the wings. Very much smells blood in the water. Well, as per the last sector on the previous lap, he is not afraid one bit. Even with 6 seconds of time penalties, he's just here to put on a damn good show as the McLaren driver. Meanwhile, in other news, while Scott Taylor has a 6-second time penalty next to his name, he needs to keep track limit penalties to an absolute minimum, because in terms of the Drivers' Championship, if he keeps the gap where it is at the moment, he will finish second in the Drivers' Championship. So he needs to play this one smartly. He needs to calculate it to perfection. At the moment, it's all looking good for the McLaren driver, but still, about 7 tours of this track to go for things to unravel.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be straightforward. 6 seconds of penalties, he's got that in about 15 or 16 laps, I think. We could yet still see another one as Havoc once again through to first ahead of Cohen. Scott made a little bit of a dummy move there on Cohen, looked to the inside, trying to put the Ferrari driver off there for a moment, but Havoc now towards turn number 9. Are we going to see yet again another overtake from Apox Cohen? Does Havoc have the battery to defend towards turn number 9? Cohen to the outside. Here comes Scott Taylor to follow through, and he's made the move as well. Havoc from first down to third. That's unfortunate for him, but he drops himself down 2 positions. Cohen once again up to the lead. Are we going to see some moves here? Further back, MJ and Karma battling away. The Williams driver loses the position. That mistake he made earlier on starting to seem a lot more costly.
And crucial for MJ, he's currently sat in the final podium position for the Alpine team. But of course, the DRS games will be well and truly out to play, and they will not be playing nice with the Alpine at the moment unless he manages to get up to the Haas driver. Looks unlikely at the moment unless a big mistake is made. Elsewhere in this race for F1, Alex, is quite a lonely scenario. It's a good kind of lonely, but it is quite lonely. P9, it's still solid points for the Red Bull driver. Having not picked up the game in 2 weeks, he can be pretty pleased with his performance in this race. Up at the front, though, once again, ladies and gentlemen, you know the score by now. Scott Taylor exits the left-hander, and ladies and gentlemen, does he get DRS? Oh, look, shock! He gets DRS. Maximum flappage down the straight as he absolutely gazumps the fresh air up ahead. Looks to the inside, but doesn't go for it this time. Bides his time, intelligently so, to give himself the best run through this second DRS straight. This is the game they'll be playing from now on. It was all swapping hands previously, but now when the lead's at stake, they'll be biding their time for this second one. Scott Taylor moves back into the lead of this race on the road. Cohen slots into second, but it's just another dimension to this absolutely astonishing race.
Mad Much, Luke and MJ once again battling. MJ's out of the race. There's been some contact, I think, or is that just a retirement on the track? Not too sure what's happened there, but we have one of the Alpines dropping out of the race. He was in contention for that podium, and now he's out of the race. What on earth has happened there? We need to know. Carmad back up into the podium position. Luke right behind him, though, still going to be pressurising for that P3 position up at the front of the field. Scott Taylor starting to build some margin, but I think it's too little too late for the McLaren driver. He's got a 6-second of penalties. He needs to build a lot more than just half a second per lap. Apox Cohen going to be readily closing that on this next tour of the Abu Dhabi track. Havoc not too far behind as well. Could try and set up a move in the next few moments. He needs to get himself up into that second place position if he wants a shot at the race win here tonight.
Must have been front wing damage for MJ, saying that's day done in an instant. So unfortunate for the Alpine driver, where all signs pointed to positivity. They quickly plummeted into pessimism. Scott Taylor keeps the lead through this first DRS straight as we have a camera angle that is about as useful. I'll think of an analogy later for that one, but Apox Cohen not that close actually to Scott Taylor. But such is the power of DRS, you wouldn't be half surprised if he sent it down the inside anyway. Isn't close enough on this particular occasion. Perhaps just defending himself now from Havoc Gamer by being in that DRS range as the Haas driver flirting dangerously with the white lines in his latter stages. Diving down the inside goes Apox Cohen. That was brave, that was bold. It hasn't quite paid off. Scott Taylor keeps the lead on the road. Wanted to put a car between himself and Havoc, couldn't quite make it stick. Now it's Havoc's turn to go down the inside. Contact! Both of them make contact at the final corner. Havoc gets the rub of the green on that occasion. Scott Taylor can escape into the distance. J4 in the DRS. It's complete carnage in the final stages of this race.
Everything suddenly up in the air. Who knows what's going to happen in these final few laps? We have a fourth challenger approaching as we start the final 3 laps here at the Yas Marina circuit. Final 4 laps, sorry. I can't count. Scott Taylor just outside the DRS as it stands, but I highly doubt that is going to last for all that much longer as Apox Cohen reads the script. It says pass, and here he comes towards turn number 6, gaining on Havoc. Is he going to do it this time around? He's going to wait until turn number 9, but he will be within that DRS, and he will get a great shot in just a moment. Scott's made a mistake. I think he's cost some time, and here Carmad and Luke battling. This is for P3 around the outside. Luke trying to hold on to that one. As it stands, he is in that P3 position. Sniper Z takes that fastest lap point as well. Apox going and have more contact being made by them. Luke still holding on, but Carmad battling with him as well as they make their way through turn number 9. They're still going hammer and tong right to the checker flag. As it stands, Luke holding on to that position for the time being, but Mush gets himself up into P5.
You never know what could happen, ladies and gentlemen. There is still a chance Much can secure P2, but he's got to get moving and he's got to hope there's even more chaos and carnage up ahead. Just like Cohen and Havoc did at the final corner, they've managed to navigate it safely on this occasion. Now it's a 4-car Hungry Caterpillar with Scott as the leader. In this particular occasion, 3 tours of the Yas Marina circuit to go. The final flurry of ferocity in Division 2 in F05 ESPORTS. And who knows what could happen, ladies and gentlemen. I'm astonished that Cohen and Havoc didn't lose too much time after they made contact. They only lost about a second. Have managed to regain that DRS in a matter of moments. But still the fight for the final podium position rages on. Luke has DRS on Much at the moment. Will play it quite cautiously potentially, but has to be wary of the Williams behind and the size to play it safely and put a car between himself and his closest challenger for the final podium position, but that will leave him exposed. On this second straight, up ahead, Apox Cohen, he's going through once again to retake the lead of this race, although Scott Taylor holding it to the inside. That will invite Havoc Gamer potentially to snap at the heels of Apox Cohen. More contact made! Massive contact! And J4 makes contact with his teammate as he's trying to regain composure. Down the inside again goes Apox Cohen, but J4 now goes for it as pitches reach new heights. They've glued themselves to each other. Havoc goes through in a matter of moments. The provisional victory of this race changes hands in a matter of apexes. Havoc Gamer has it in his grasp with 2 laps to go.
I don't think Havoc's going to be too confident. He picked up wing damage with that contact with Cohen out of turn number 9. He is going to be very vulnerable on these final 2 laps of racing. Scott Taylor and Jacob now can battle it out for pure position in these final few laps of this race. But we are seeing an amazing end to this race. And look at the penalties as well. Much is getting very, very close to being within 3 seconds of our race leader. If he can get within that margin, he could be on to gain 2 extra positions here by the time they reach the checker flag. Jacob gaining on Scott, Havoc gaining on Jacob. Are we going to see the 2 Hasses swapping positions? Late move there from Jacob into the braking zone. Havoc almost went for the send there, had to back out of that one. They still hold on to those positions. Luke, Much and Carmad still battle away as well as they make the run towards turn number 9. Scott Taylor and Jacob, they're going to go wheel to wheel, I think, towards the braking zone. Havoc to the inside. Here comes Cohen as well. Are they going 4 wide into turn number 9? Cohen and Havoc, the 2 without penalties, they take the lead of this race, still wheel to wheel. Scott Taylor trying to get in on this battle as well as they make their way into turn number 12. Havoc into the lead as they get ready to start the final lap of this race, but this could go anyone's way.
How do they play this then? Plenty of DRS games to play. Strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if my voice is ready, but it's going to be an absolutely sensational slobber knocker. One final lap of Division 2 to decide who wears their heart on their sleeve the most. Havoc currently leads, Cohen in second. Scott and Jacob will, for pride's sake, want to win it on the road. Luke and Much are so, in fact, they are within that 3-second margin. This is all that Much needs to secure P2 in the Drivers' Championship. But for now, Scott Taylor looks to the inside of Cohen, but round the outside goes Jacob. Compromised exit for the Ferrari driver. That invites Scott Taylor to go for the switchback, and now it's a drag race. Contact! That will seal it. Jacob and Cohen make contact. Jacob's out of this race, and that will do it. Signed, sealed, and delivered. Havoc Gamer just has to keep it clean in these final crucial corners of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. I can't quite believe how this has played out. There's another, Scott's extended that 3-second margin. That's all he needs to do. But Much with DRS assistance moves to the front of the queue. The final podium position, in fact, scrap that. 2nd place in this race hasn't been settled. Carmad goes round the outside to take P2. Cohen's left the session. He can't quite believe he's let it slip through his fingers. On the track, F1 Scott has played it brilliantly, but when time penalties are applied, it's Division 2 delights, it's Abu Dhabi delights, and what a race from Havoc Gamer to cross the line and win the final race of the season in Division 2. Luke got 2nd place in the final moments, and unbelievably, Scott Taylor will take P2 in the driver's standings. Much in P5. F1 Alex comes home P6 in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. A very solid haul of points indeed. Petronas, in the end, after all of the gremlins and torture he faced, manages to ascend up to P7. Spaceboy in 8th, Barnaby in 9th. Pico Dan, the medium tyres, the alternate strategy, it just didn't quite pay off for him. P10 in the end. We wait for Sniper's Eye to cross the line, but Havoc Gamer will be one happy man. It was drama, it was chaos, but when push came to shove, the Haas driver prevailed.
I mean, what an ending to that race. Absolutely everything coming once again in Abu Dhabi. This track delivering twice in 2 attempts here in F05. I mean, yeah, it's been an amazing week for the F05 Championship, and we have another amazing end to the race. Scott Taylor took it on track, but unfortunately it wasn't quite enough to pick up the win with those time penalties. He does secure P2, a late penalty and a late mistake on that final lap in the final sector for Mush cost him that chance to pick up P2 in the standings. Really unfortunate for him, but yeah, what a race. So much to talk about, especially those crashes in the final few laps.
Plenty of debrief to happen, ladies and gentlemen, as the podium dwellers once again look extremely ridiculous by spraying absolutely nothing. But whatever that consolation is for them, what a drive from the Haas driver of Havoc Gamer, wreaking his namesake, and he takes the final race. of F05 Division 2 for this season. Luke got P2. If we get an interview with him, we have to ask how he managed to do that in the final sector. It all pointed towards Carmad taking home those top honours, but not to be. The Visa Cash App contactless driver did the job. Scott Taylor takes P2 in the driver's standings ahead of Much. F1 Alex P6. Petronas 7th. Spaceboy in 8th. Barnaby in 9th. P. Coldan in 10th. And, well, what can you even say? What can you even say? There is drama to debrief on, my friend. Oh, isn't there just?
It's insane stuff coming out of that one. I mean, yeah, so much to talk about. I mean, Cohen, there's going to be many words for our champion, I'm sure of it. That incident on the final lap, going to be talked about long and hard. Probably cost him that win in the final race. He's probably not going to be all that happy with that. But yeah, I mean, overall, still had some amazing racing all the way through.
I honestly couldn't agree more with you. Abu Dhabi doesn't disappoint. 2 for 2, ladies and gentlemen. So twice. So nice, we just had to do it twice. That was the phrase I was going for. Whew. What a race from Havoc Gamer, first and foremost. I think we can all say that, but it all just came to a head, didn't it? We knew that this dynamic would develop. We knew that they would push the boundaries as much as possible. And that's what can happen. Huge drama for Jacob and Cohen.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very interesting one. I wasn't even watching when that happened. I looked away for a moment just to look at my notepad, and then all of a sudden I see two cars come rearing off down a straight. But yeah, it's definitely going to be one that I think the stewards are probably going to be looking at for days to come. Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one.
Couldn't agree more with you. Well, we have a couple of people who are willing to take on the interview gauntlet, and well, let's start off with the man who finished in P3 at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Carmad, welcome in, my friend. Congratulations on the P3. That looked like a sensationally spicy battle on the last lap in particular, but talk us through the race as a whole. How was it for you out there?
It was a good race. I was just in the first stint, I was just trying to stick with the cars ahead, stick in the DRS, because I knew if I lost that DRS, then I'd have just fell so far behind. But yeah, I kept in DRS, so that was good. I spun Sniper Side quite early on, so I think I might get a 10-second penalty for that. So I don't know, wait for the stewards on that. But yeah, it's annoying to lose out on P2 on the last lap, but yeah, it's what it is. Is what it is.
You want to just tell us quickly what happened, because we didn't quite catch in that final sector the overtake. You don't normally see moves happening there. How was it done?
I think out of the Latifi corner, that's what I call it, Much like half spun. So then I went to the left of him, and then I can't remember his name now. The other guy, the V carb, went to the right of him, and then because I'm turning such a tighter corner, because I've gone to the left of him, I like lose traction and kind of half spin as well. So then the V carb just gets ahead. It's really annoying, but yeah.
Well, it's still, nonetheless, it's hard. I guess it's hardly any consolation, but it was a strong drive. It really was a strong drive, and you gave us plenty of entertainment. So if nothing else, we all won tonight. Let's put it that way. Mindset wise, what was your mindset going into this race in particular? Obviously, last week of Division 2 for this season, perhaps some pride at stake. What was your mindset like going into some battles and this race as a whole?
Because I'm a normally Division 3 driver, I didn't really know where I'd end up. I could be near the front, I could be trailing at the back. I was just like, I don't know. So I was quite happy to qualify P7. I thought I'd be much further back than that. But yeah, I was just trying to stick with the top guys and stick in DRS, because yeah, the DRS is really powerful around here. And yeah, just don't go out the white lines, stick in DRS. That was my two rules that I followed in that race. But yeah, good race.
Do you think you were costing yourself too much pace being careful with those white lines? Do you think you maybe could have pushed it a little bit harder?
I think, yeah, maybe I could have pushed it a little bit harder, but then I think I was only one warning away from a penalty anyway. So I think I probably would have cost myself 3 seconds. So yeah, I think I played the track limits penalty well.
And I think final thing from me for tonight. Like you say, you've come from Division 3, you've dipped your toes into Division 2, and on the whole, you can be pretty pleased with today, I would say. Strategy wise, in terms of that, was there anything really to talk about there in terms of undercuts and overcuts, etc.? I think you did an undercut in the end, if memory serves me correctly. Just how powerful was it? And was it slightly? Was it? Do you know, as a commentator, you try and get words out, and it's the worst feeling in the world when they don't come out. But like, in terms of making that undercut, did it provide too much of a deficit later on in the race, or was pace pretty similar, would you say?
No, pace was pretty similar. I in my practice race, I found out that the undercut was quite powerful. So then, yeah, I did it in the race. A couple of laps even before I did in my practice race, and my mediums were just absolutely dead. But yeah, a few other drivers came in with me, so then at the end it didn't affect that much. And yeah, hards felt pretty good. So
excellent. Well, enjoy the podium, my friend, whatever consolation that might be. Enjoy the podium. Excellent work today, ladies and gentlemen. Your P3 finisher in the season finale in Division 2, Mr. Carmad. Congratulations.
thanks. See you next season.
See you next season, my friend. Brilliant. Well done to him. And well, we got a lot of takers in the interview room, ladies and gentlemen. So let's speak to someone who, in the end, can feel pretty positive about how this week went. 2 weeks off of the game. F1 Alex, strong result, my friend. Well done.
Yeah, let's go. P12 to P6. Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that. It got a little bit boring towards the end because when I don't know if you saw me when I was coming into pit. Pico Dan decided he wanted to smell my backside, and to be fair, I caught it well, but he basically, I was within a second of the cars in front, and yeah, it just he rear-ended me, sent me sideways. I managed to get into the box, but by that point I'd lost the gap that I needed. So when I come out, I was out of DRS. Them three had DRS, and it was kind of game over from there. And then my teammate came out the box, literally right behind me, Space Boy. What a useless teammate he was. I let him go under DRS, thinking we're going to work together now. What does he go and do? Goes and outbrakes himself, slows me down. I lost a second in 2 corners. So I thought, oh, sod him, I'm going for it. But yeah, it was a good race.
Oh, sometimes things don't go your way with the teammate luck. But yeah, making up a decent number of positions. Maybe wasn't expecting the P6 until those final few laps. In fact, the last lap, really. But overall, decent result for yourself.
Yeah, it was really good. What happened? That was juicy. That was all I saw, was that someone retired. And then I saw 2 retired, and I thought, great, I've gone from P8 to P6. What happened?
Well, there was a bit of a skirmish between Jacob and Apox Cohen on the first
Ooh.
DRS straight, which we did
dear.
get. So that is plenty of entertaining food to feast on after this broadcast. It was certainly very spicy, though.
I mean, I think, is that Apox Cohen in the interview room? Can I see him?
He is,
Yeah.
yes.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Do we be scared?
No, you're okay. Hugo, who's also in the interview room, don't interview him because he's a melt. But Hugo gave Apox Cohen the setup. I blame Hugo for the bad setup, to be quite honest. And that's why I finished above Apox Cohen, because I'm quicker, I'm better, and I'm faster.
That is probably true. And yeah, that's why you won a
Yeah,
championship before him.
I'm
That's
not
why
sure
you
it
won the
is, mate.
championship before him. But yeah, massive congratulations on the P6 here tonight. Decent result considering you haven't played the game for a while.
Yeah, 2 weeks off. A bit of self-promotion here. I've been doing endurance racing.
He has, absolutely. Tell us more, F1 Alex.
Yeah, so we did an 8-hour, my first ever race on a Assetto Corsa. We did an 8-hour endurance race. We've got a 3-hour Monza booked in before Creator Series this Saturday at 4:00. And then we've got on the 22nd of March a 12-hour. I've never actually raced competitively online. All I've ever done is an endurance race. So yeah, it's going well. We're plodding along. F05's cooking. We've got the three divisions. Sign-ups are out for next season. All the commentary sorted for next season. We've got all 3 divisions on commentary. Obviously, I believe you, Carl and Josh on a Wednesday. We've got Is Amusing and a mixture of commentators, mainly Josh, on a Thursday. And we've got TK and Adam on a Sunday. So, do you know what? Everything's going well. F05's cooking. I'm back racing on F1. Not very good, but I'm back racing on F1. So yeah, I appreciate your time tonight, boys. I'm sure I'm going to go and watch it back very shortly. I'm going to go for a shower and get in bed.
Lovely job, Blue. Well, P6, you can be very proud of that, my friend. One final thing from me before you head off. Obviously, there are some big changes coming next season in F05 with the Constructors' Championship. How excited are you for those implementations?
I cannot wait I can't wait for it. We've never done anything like that before. It brings it. I don't know what made me think of it, or whoever thought of it. I won't take credit if it wasn't me, but I remember basically I put a Discord chat out, and where people could open a ticket and see what they wanted to change in F05 to make it more fun and just to make it still a league race. We want to keep it league racing. You know, we had a lot of suggestions of things like Creator Series do and things like that. Now we want to steer away from that because that's the Creator Series thing. You know, we want to make sure we stick to the fundamentals of league racing. So yeah, when I don't know if it was me or someone else put, why don't we have one Constructors Championship? I was playing it over in my head how it could work, and I was thinking, oh okay, well if someone, for example, if someone in Division 2 can't race, let's say in a Kick Sauber, and the Division 3 Kick Sauber driver goes, well, hang on a sec, we're near the top. I want to win this Constructors. You're more likely to see drivers step up into higher divisions, meaning full grids, which means better for commentary, means more crashes. So yeah, I think as a whole, I think it's going to be a good thing to watch personally, because 1 week you're going to be commenting, mainly Josh, because he'll be doing most nights, Thursday, Sunday, and Wednesday, knowing Josh. You know, he'll see it from all angles. He'll see it from a Sunday where you've got the likes of Kareem and Josh, sorry, not Curse anymore, Josh. You'll see the likes of them scoring for whatever team, and then Josh will be there on a Sunday's Div 3, but then he'll be there on a Sunday and he'll go, right, well, I remember Mercedes scored well. Who have we got in Mercedes? So I think it's going to bring a good concept to F05. I think it'll bring a good concept to the people watching, and I think they'll be invested. I think they'll want to know who's in what team, just so they can see kind of where the battles are. And I think we'll see a mega battle. I don't think it's going to be a one-horse race, mainly because we decide what cars people go in. So, you know, we can plan it around, yes, if we've got the fastest drivers in Division 1 in a Mercedes, we'll put the slowest drivers in Division 3 in a Mercedes, as an example kind of thing. So it balances it out. So Mercedes might score well in Div 1, okay in Div 2, and rubbish in Div 3. That's great, because if every team can do that, you're going to get 6 or 7 teams on 300 points on the last race. That's the plan anyway.
Well, you're excited, we're excited, everyone's excited for all the enthralling encounters to come. Let's put it that way. F1 Alex,
can't wait.
Honestly, thank you so much for your time, man. We really do
You're
appreciate it.
Thanks for your time, boys.
Us. No, you're very welcome.
Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem. Have a good evening, boys.
You too. In a bit, mate.
And I've just saluted you because it's Carl's favourite thing. See you later, boys.
See you later. Have a good one. Oh, what a legend. What a legend he is. Right, we've got 2 more names in the interview room, ladies and gentlemen. And brace yourselves. That's all I'll say. Brace yourselves. Apox Cohen, welcome in, and I'm going to ignore one particular lap. For 26 laps and a qualifying, that was an excellent weekend.
It was. Quali dominated. 5 tenths. I think the setup I had on, with me reversing the rear anti-roll bar and the front anti-roll bar, it made a really oversteery setup, which means time trial setup, quality setup, 1 lap setup. A lot of oversteer, didn't like it. It's not my type. So yeah, that's probably why I was so fast in quali. It was a good lap as well. That's besides the point. But yeah, setup related issues. Like I got handed a good setup, but managed to screw it over enough that it became a bad one. So yeah, reversed the front anti-roll bar and the rear anti-roll bar. That kind of costed me in the race as well. A lot of oversteer, lots of lifting, obviously tire wear coming into play. Mediums were very high tire wear. My rear right, hards were pretty manageable. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, should we just go for it? Last lap. What on earth happened?
Yeah, go on. So basically, the corner where Max overtook Lewis in the famous years of 21, that was a mistake on my behalf. I had to correct the car. It was snappy, as I said. Corrected the car, lost the position to Scott. Then I kind of went to the medium ERS, I think. I wanted to slot in behind Scott, so I just kind of did that. And yeah, I don't know. Somehow I got tire hooked with one of the Haas's, and he sent me his POV. And like from what I saw from that POV, at first it looked like his steering wheel was bobbling a bit from left to right. So I thought, okay, he might have like steered to the right, but that wasn't it. So I thought it was desync, right? Because from my POV, I'm not steering left. And from his POV, I aggressively steer left from 1 second to another. So I told him like, oh, it's probably desync then. But yeah, then he told me, well, if you have to blame it on desync, then you already know who's in the wrong. So yeah, I guess he's a little bit mad over it. Personally, I don't really care. I won the championships. Of course, it might be a race win down the drain. Scott had a 6 seconds, which would probably be reduced to 3 seconds because of the pit entry. And I probably would have overtaken Havoc on the second straight as well. So it's unfortunate, but we go next for the next season and many more things to come.
Indeed. As a whole this season, actually, while we're on the subject of it, of course, you are the Division 2 champion. There's no secret there. But what has been your favourite race that you did this season?
My favorite race, I think it must have been Brazil. I honestly don't even know which position I finished in. I have no clue. I think I finished like second.
I was going to say, I think it was second or third. I can't remember off the
Yeah,
top of my
second or third. I have no idea. But I came through the field twice, dead last. So many chaos, so many overtakes, so much tire wear, so much action. It was really good. Such a good race.
Nothing else, I think, from my side. Anything you've got, Carl?
I'm trying to gander through all the waffle that's going through my head currently, but I think the final thing from me is how did you approach that race? Because obviously DRS played a huge factor, and of course as it got to later on in that race, it looked like you wanted to be more behind, especially coming to that second DRS zone because that's where you can gain the advantage. So what was the dynamic like in terms of DRS as you went through that race?
Yeah, so basically, like the first DRS zone, I was always in front. I was trying to get overtaken by P2 kind of on that straight, so I could re-overtake them on the second straight, and then in the third sector I could just put it in none, just save everything because in the last sector ERS doesn't play a big part, so you could kind of just turn the battery off, recharge, and if I just did that every single lap, I could have managed to just be in P2 with a full battery on the last lap. But then I don't know which lap, like lap 24, 25, I got tire hooked again by another Haas. I think it was Havoc. I can't really recall the exact incident. I probably have it clipped on my stream or whatever, but I got tire hooked, so we lost like 1.5 seconds to Jacob, and he caught back up into our DRS. So that kind of changed the things as well in the standings, and in the race scheme of things. That kind of ruined my strategy, but it is what it is, and we move on.
Exactly. Well, apart from being a Haas magnet tonight, it was actually an excellent weekend. So
Yeah.
well done yourself, and congratulations, as I've said all the way through the previous weeks, for 1, winning the drivers, and 2, winning the constructors, and well done for giving us some great entertainment, ladies and gentlemen. The wonderful Apox Cohen. Thank you for coming on, my friend.
Thank you very much, guys.
Very welcome. See you next season.
See you as well.
Brilliant. There you go. We do have one more in the interview room. He might have some slightly sinister feelings after, well, what happened in F1 Alex's interview, but we shall soon find out. We now get it from a spectator's perspective. Hugo, welcome on, my friend. A spectator for today. How was that from where you were sat?
Oh, did not know I was in the VC. Well, it was a good race. It was a good race. Like, it was very exciting at the top. Like, overtakes pretty much every lap, every corner. So it was very interesting to see. I gave away some setups at the top, like to the top drivers. However, Cohen put it on wrong. So, like, I don't know. I expected much, and they all delivered.
I mean, there's not too much to talk about race-wise because you weren't there. But do you think there was anything the drivers could have done differently, potentially strategy-wise, to do better in that race?
I mean, I thought that Scott would pull away even more with the undercut, but Cohen and Havoc really worked together to like get back to them. So yeah, they did a wonderful race, and yeah, there's not much to say. Like, I didn't race, so there's not much to add more than that.
Well, there's been many marvellous moments in Division 2 this season. So the question to you is, what's been your favourite moment? Whether that's a race or a single moment you can pick out. What's been your favourite this season?
I mean, race-wise, it must have been Brazil. Like, even though I think I DNF'd, but me and Cohen just, like, under safety car deciding, oh yeah, let's go on softs. Back of the field, just climb up and yeah, just have shits and giggles. And it was amazing, just laughing our way up the field. But like, you can't take away Vegas. I scored a P2. And as well with Portugal, starting from P4, working my way up after the safety car to almost winning the race. So like, there's been a lot of moments.
Well, the top step will be calling your name shortly, I have no doubt at all. Hugo, thank you so much for coming on and chatting to us, and see you next season.
Yeah, see you next season. Have a good one.
You too. Take care, mate.
Yeah, you too.
Whew. I think we need a lie down after that race. It's everything Division 2 has played all the way through this season, and once again did not disappoint. It's been so much time that's gone on, so we'll wrap this up pretty quickly. But Josh, what thoughts and feelings do you have after that race?
Chaos. I can't think right now. Everything's everywhere. Absolute chaos. And yeah, congratulations to Havoc for getting the race win. But yeah, so much going on and so little time to process it. I'm surprised we managed to get through that one, to be honest. But yeah, what a race.
I couldn't agree more with you. And thanks and well done to all the drivers, and thank you to all the drivers for some box office entertainment, as always, in F05 Division 2. And that will do it. The sun sets on this season of F05 Division 2. But soon enough, it will be the dawn of a new championship. Who will take the drivers' crowns, and more importantly, who will take that combined constructors' crown? All will be revealed. But, Josh, where can we find you on an internet?
Somewhere down.
You got it this time. Yeah, you're in the right
There,
place.
there, right there. It's Chocolate on Twitch, not Twitter, Twitch. That's my Twitch channel, or you can find me streaming, commentating over on the SRL official Twitch channel.
There you go. Go and follow him, I implore you. Where you can't find me this week, ladies and gentlemen, is the wonderful tropical land of Bali. You won't find me there. But where you will find me is at a very distinctive name. It's down there. I thought I got it first try. That's frustrating. But that's me. That's me on Twitch. You also find me on the same name on multiple social medias. You'll probably find me there. Josh, I posed a question to you that I posed to the drivers. Do you have a favourite F05 Division 2 moment that has stood out for you this season?
Well, I mean, I've commentated so many races this season in F05. It's all a bit of a blur. I only did the second half of the season, really. Las Vegas was quite a memorable race with all the chaos, though.
Yeah, Vegas was memorable. I put Brazil up there into that equation as well. You almost can't quite beat a Brazilian Grand Prix, and yet they seem to up the ante every single week. which make our blood pressure very high and means we need more rest. So that's not fun. But that will do it, ladies and gentlemen. Abu Dhabi is done. F05 Division 2 is done for this season. But soon enough, we shall return even more rapturous than ever. Thank you all so much for tuning in to F05 Division 2 this week. Consider following this channel here at Karl Paranic. Consider following Josh over there. There. At It's Chocolate. Please go and follow him. He's an absolute delight to co-commentate against. And like I say, Josh, thank you for all your insight. It's been an absolute privilege. And we get to do it all again next season. F05 have a bunch of social medias. They're on Instagram, for instance. Go and follow them there for all of your F05 fix. Shout-outs to Tuatara for providing all the best sim racing wear in the game and for powering the F05 eSports League. But that will do it for the waffle. Thank you all so much again for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And don't go away. Division 2 next season is just around the corner. But until then, from myself and from Josh in the commentary box, it's goodbye.